Hello, Remnant Road Warriors. Welcome to another Testimony Tuesday. And y'all know I only bring y'all the creme de la creme, the best of the best. And I have another banger for y'all today. This morning on this Testimony Tuesday, y'all have to know that first off, this is not a regular guest, okay? This is my girl. We go way back. So if you guys have been on the merch store, you see one of my books is on the merch store. I ironically ran into a whole nother manuscript that I had not published that I forgot that I had, that I wrote and finished, that I forgot was there. And I'm looking at her right now. For all of y'all that are watching this on YouTube, I'm looking at her right now because it was in my email that I had sent to someone. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it's finished? Okay. So, and when I read through it, I goes, yeah, I did write that. Okay. So, but I need to tell y'all about Tammy because this woman of God, right, y'all, this woman of God is par excellence. She is a woman that teaches other people how to be great when it comes to being an author and writing. She gave me a whole bunch of pointers and a whole bunch of how-tos and what-fors when we were first introduced to each other and started this whole shebangity bang off. And I want to give you guys a little background about her. Now, this was hilarious when I went on her profile and I saw it. It says, I am an author. Me and Amazon had a very interesting relationship since September of 2015, and I am blessed to have penned, recorded, been part of, and published over 200 books since then. I always have works in progress because... Stop pushing buttons, Tanya. I always have works in progress because, well, I live on Earth. A speaker, my road began in the early 2010s, and since then, I have spoken in nearly 200 live and virtual events across the country. In 2017, I joined the Bluff City Toastmasters Club and have won both area and division speech contests. Now you see, I'm reading this child's bio. There's some stuff on here I ain't know about her because this is my friend. So I knew she was fabulous anyway because she's my friend, and I told y'all I only bring y'all the best. Now, I'm not going to read this whole bio because this girl, she's a coach. Hold on, let me see. A bookstore owner. A radio network host and CEO, which we have in common. A lover of cookies. We just had a whole conversation about Oreo cookies we're not going to go into. A married, homeschooling mother of 3 girls and an angel girl who loves gaming, word puzzles, police crime dramas, and wrestling. I have overcome some things that make some wonder if I am even human. I am just different. I think that's it for now. So, without further ado, I give you my friend, super duper woman of God, Mrs. Tammy Cloak. How you doing, Bookie?
I am alive last time I checked. How about yourself?
Look, is this thing on? Am I breathing? Let me take my pulse. Am I alive? It has been forever and 500 days since we talked. And when I reached out to you to do this interview, I was like, I need to get Tammy in front of my camera and on my screen for my audience because I feel like you are the definition of skin does not mean that we are victims or less than. You are Black woman par excellence, and you are the example of everybody has the same 24 hours, and it is what you do with it. And I just needed to bring that type of chocolate excellence energy to my audience. I did. Now, mind you, we are not a quote unquote Black radio station. Although, for those of you that know Remnant Radio and its history, there is a whole other Remnant Radio that started way before we did. I did not question when the Lord told me to name this station Remnant Radio because we are Remnant Radio Online, which is a completely different station than the actual original station. But what I do say is that both of us cater to a Christian audience, and I am no respecter of persons. You could be chocolate, vanilla, caramel, olive oil flavor, whatever flavor you are, you can come on here and be a part of our God-centered content, because that's what we provide, is God-centered content. What I do know is that you are the special one. You are the one that, you're the reason why I was motivated to even finish my book, the first one, and put it out there. You're the reason why I was like, you know what? Nope, we're going to do this, because if Tammy can do it, I can do it. And so since the last time I saw you, I got the opportunity to speak over Zoom to some evangelists in Pakistan. So it's like, but when you get your motivation, so y'all got to know, when you meet somebody that is crazy like you and they're motivated to do like you and they do what God tells them to do, you have to stay in that person's corner. So Tammy, let's talk, baby. What's going on? I got some questions for you, but I want you to talk to the audience.
Okay, well, I bring you greetings from the home of Elvis, the Grizzlies, and the world's best barbecue, Memphis, Tennessee. As my bio says, I do all the things and the most all at the same time while getting on Amazon's nerves. My children actually believe that I am the reason that Jeff Bezos stepped down from day-to-day operations. It's a running joke in my house. But as Tanya said, I am one who has not played the victim card. Growing up in the 90s, I know I don't look that old. Growing up, in the 90s, I ended up going to an all-white private Christian school because my mom feared for my life and for one of my brother's lives in going to the school that we were zoned for. So she basically put us in this school to keep us alive. What I found out later was that my brothers were turned away from this school in the 80s simply because they were Black. So when we went to enroll in the school, the principal knew exactly who we were. Now, I was not born then. This was probably a year before I was born. But they knew who we were. And that is the reason why one of my favorite people in Black history is Ruby Bridges, because I felt like my brother and I pulled a Ruby Bridges back in August of 93.
Wow.
And he and I were the only ones there. And the stereotypes started the first day. It was assumed that my brother only knew how to play basketball. And being that my brother at the time was 6'4" and a half.
Well, that might have helped that a little Look, if you don't know how to play, we need you to play at 6'4" and a half.
Right, 6'4" and a half. Yeah. And then there was me. And the perception was that I was an around the way neighborhood girl. Because where this school was, that's what lived around this school. So I woke up every day with something to prove. I was accused of cheating. I was accused of bullying. In the 7th grade, I had a higher GPA than their graduating seniors. And people wanted to know how that happened. They wanted to see my records and just all the things. And I've often told people nobody really started to like me or really get to know me until after my brother graduated, until I was in like the 9th grade. But I still didn't allow them to dim my light. And fortunately, that principle didn't play. He looked at me and he saw Tammy. Tammy was a student in his school. That's what he saw when he looked at me. He looked at me and saw Tammy, who had a sweet spirit, made good grades, stayed out of trouble, got on his nerves because she finished work way too fast. But that was what he saw when he looked at me. So I ended up graduating from high school at 16. I was the second youngest graduate of that school. And of course, because of my brother, I was the second African American graduate, but the first African American female graduate. And there has not been one since, to my knowledge. So I remember my friends, like in church and in the neighborhood, just talking about some of the stuff that they dealt with in school, and I'm like, y'all ain't got problems.
Right.
I'm like, if that's what y'all call problems, I said I will trade places with you any day. Y'all don't know nothing about no problem. And I would just sit there with tears streaming down my face, and I would tell them some of the stuff that I went through in school, and they was like, I'm like, yeah, y'all have been kicked out. But like I said, I didn't let it stop me. I don't allow it to stop me. I even put my own child, my oldest daughter, in that school for a year. And I let them know this is not August 1993. I'm grown now.
Now, what made you put her in the school?
I worked in the area as a substitute teacher. And our schedule at home changed because I'm a homeschool parent. And our schedule changed, and it was better since we had a smaller child at home. It was better for Dad that he only had one little girl to worry about. Bless his heart, my husband's grossly outnumbered. And so I ended up getting a long-term substitute teaching position at the elementary school behind where the private school was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I said, I wanted to see how she would do. And she actually did. She did well. And so the air was a little bit different. but I still stood my ground and I taught her how to do so. And there were still people there who knew me, and they said, "You got whose child?" They were like, "Yeah, watch how you do that one. Watch how you treat her. Because if she's anything like her mama, you got something on your hands."
Right.
I guess.
And so my first question,
Mhm.
which you covered ad nauseum, like you have given us this colorful cornucopia of. My first question was, who are you and what do you do? But we have covered that
Yeah, just
at great length. So that was a good a good icebreaker. And then I could say that you covered my second question, but I feel like there's a deeper level of this that I'm going to ask this question because I feel like you can take this and go to a whole nother level with it because I know you. And I know that you as the person that you are, you have so much to give. With somebody that's written 200 books, I'm well behind on my 2.5 books. I'm really 1, 2. Yeah, I'm well behind. Okay. But what is one challenge you faced that God turned around?
Oh, that would have to be my battle with multiple sclerosis during the pandemic. I went to the doctor on Valentine's Day in 2020 because I just did not like how I felt. And as I'm sitting there, they're running all these tests and all of these things, and the attending physician is like, you should not be able to see or speak, let alone move with your symptoms and your test results. There is something in you that's compensating for something. So a normal person's, I want to say it's blood saturation or some
Oxygen,
term like that,
oxygen saturation.
something like that is 15. Mine was 4. And they couldn't tell what in my body was pulling on what to where I was still alive and coherent and doing all human things. So they're sitting there and they start bringing in all these specialists, and they write down on my chart, demyelinating disease, start MS protocol. And I just started crying because I knew what MS stood for. So going through all the things, MRIs, CAT scans, blood draws, all the things. And they look at me and they said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm an author." And he says, "You got any works in progress?" I'm like, "Of course, I'm an author." And he says, "Well, you might want to get them done because there's a 65% chance that you would completely lose the use of your hands." And I remember getting back in the car and calling 2 of my friends in the ministry, and I'm just bawling. Like I couldn't get out. I couldn't even leave the parking lot. I was just bawling my eyes out. And after them, I called my dad, and my dad was like, "Why are you calling me before you call your husband?" And I'm like, "Because you're my dad." you know?
I'm a baby.
I'm like, "You're my dad. I'm the baby of my family and the only girl. I'm calling my dad." first.
I want my dad.
I'm going with my daddy. And so, I get home and I get in the bedroom. I close the door behind me and I just drop to the floor in tears and had to explain to my husband that I had multiple sclerosis. And after that, life just fell apart for me. I did lose the use of my hands. I walked with a limp. I had two, what they call musculoskeletal heart attacks, which is where the muscles around your heart go into a heart attack, but your actual heart is fine. Had two. Lost my ability to walk. Stood up one day, said that I wanted to go to church. I stood up, tried to take a step, straight face plant. I fell forward. And I just cried because here I am, just like everything that these doctors said started happening. And at the time, I had a goal of being at 125 books by my birthday, which was in August. And I said, God, what am I gonna do? I can't carry an empty plate. Where are these other 27 books supposed to come from? So I went to bed early. I went to bed early that night. And you know how in Hebrews 12 it talks about, the great cloud of witnesses. I met mine. And in this crowd of witnesses, everybody was crying because I was there to say that I was giving up. I was there to say that I was going to stop writing, that the illness had won. And then there were three very distinct cries in that crowd. Two I recognized and one I didn't. One was that of my grandmother, my mom's mom, my mom, who passed away in 2007. It was the third cry that got me. In 2008, I lost a daughter. She did not make it here. And she was that third cry. She walked up to me and took my face in her hands and she said, "Mommy, I love you. You can't quit. You've got to fight." It was 9:31 p.m. when I woke up from that. And I said, God, what am I supposed to do? I can't use my hands. And he said, "This may have taken your hands, but it didn't take your voice." So I football carried my laptop to the only place in the house where I could sit properly after having to have a lumbar puncture. And if you've ever had one of those, it's no joke, especially if you have one after having two epidurals, two spinal taps for C-sections. So there I was, and I had a recording app on my laptop, and I knew that. I also had the outlines for the other 27 books that I planned to put out. So I sat there and I said, okay. I pulled up the recording software. I pulled up the outlines, and I just started to talk. I went from one outline to another, one recording to another, until the pain of sitting up got to be too much. And I reached out to my accountability crew, one in Florida, one in Georgia, one in Colorado, and I told them what I was doing. And they said, keep going. We're praying for you. They said, let us know when you get those 27 done, regardless of the time. Let us know. That was August 6th. On August 10th at 11:23 p.m. Central, I got up from my couch, was walking down the hall, going back to my room. My legs started to go, so I knew I had mere seconds to get to my room before I fell. My oldest daughter had stayed awake, and I looked her in the eye and I said, I did it. I'm done. I recorded 27 audio books of various lengths in 4 days. My friend and coach in Florida, she made me graphics. And she says, all you have to do is just put in your titles. And I put them all up on my online store on payhip.com because my website couldn't hold them all storage wise. So when I woke up on my birthday, my post was not only still being here and celebrating making it to my birthday, but to also say that I hit that 125 because God reminded me that my condition did nothing to my voice. And not even a year later, even though I still had my challenges, come January, God said, I have one more cross I need you to bear. And I heard a message about the Apostle Paul and how he got up and went back into the city after being stoned to death. And I'm sitting here I was actually having a good day that day, but didn't want to push myself too much. And I'm sitting in my bed with tears streaming down my face, and I texted my husband, who was actually at church, and I said, "Babe, God allowed me to get up from this." And all of a sudden, I couldn't keep still. I was walking around my house. I'm crying to the point where tears and snot are hitting the floor, and I have hardwood floors so I could hear it. And I'm just like, God, what, why? And I'm like, you know what? You don't have to tell me why. I heard this message. Just tell me what to do with it. I just, whatever you want me to do with what I just heard. Okay. And I remember I wrote down the pastor's main points and the verses that went with them on teal sticky notes. And I taped it on my wall on my side of my bedroom. And everything that God brought me tied to that, I put it on those teal sticky notes and I stuck it up there on the wall. And then I was like, I told my husband, I said, "Babe," he said, "Yep." I said, "I think I know what I'm supposed to do with this." And he goes, "Okay." I says, "You know what I'm thinking?" And he said, "Yeah." So I took those 5 points. I took those 5 points, those 5 scriptures, my story, and I wrote the book, Girl, Go Eat a Cookie and Then Handle Business, where I talked about how we all have setbacks and knockdowns, but what did you allow and what did you allow to continue? I cried every day for 14 days because he didn't just rip my heart out to write the book. He had the neracity and unmitigated gall to tell me to put a workbook with it. Normally I self-edit, but this had to leave my hands. I was like, nope, nope. So I reached out to the one person who befriended me the second I walked through that schoolroom door in August of 1993. And I said, "I need your help." This is one of my very, very best friends. And I said to her, "I need your help editing something that is probably going to end our friendship." That's just how hard of a read this book is. It's not because I said, that she did anything to me or that we had any issues or anything like that. It was the message of the book. And sure enough, she did it. But she didn't talk to me for almost 6 months afterwards. And I knew that was coming. She finally reached out to me after 3 months and she says, "I'm not mad at you. I still love you. We're still friends." But that ripped me apart. And I gotta sit with some things. That is the one book in my collection I don't describe happily because I can't. It's not possible. That book will be 5 years old at the end of this month. I cannot speak or teach through that book even today without crying. When I got them both done, they were both live, my spirit was still heavy, and I'm like, God, why? What now? And he said, I need you to protect what I told you to pen. And I was like, really? I'm like, God, that's $130. He said, you have it. I looked in my business account. I had $130.01. And I was obedient. And he said to me, now I need you to do something even harder than that. And I said, my soul, what is harder than this? He said, I need you to let this book breathe. Do not pen another word for the next year. That's like me being an Alabama fan and you're telling me I have to spend a year at Auburn?
From an Alabama house, I can't. From a Roll Tide house, I understand. My husband, when it fell over, he told him this.
I said, okay, God. Woo, Jesus. Okay. And I got tested. I did. I got tested. Got an email? No, Facebook message. Hey, sis, I ordered one of your book boxes and it advertises a workbook, but there's no workbook in here. What? It's not here. So I go onto my Amazon portal and sure enough, never hit publish. So I went into prayer. I said, Jesus, I know you had said what you had said when you said what you had said, because I told everybody that you said it after you had said what you said. House never come. This is a case of professional integrity. And your word says that a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and that we are not to let our work be evil spoken of. So I need your permission to push this button. Please and thank you. God said, okay. But that's
Right.
it.
Because he told you not to pen anything else.
He said,
so if it wasn't public, it was like it wasn't.
He said, okay. I wasn't being disobedient. So I pushed the button, workbook came in, I sent out the workbook and a whole nother box for the mental pain and anguish. So after that, I went back in my hole. It was tough. during that time, the things that he gave me the grace to do were tied to what he told me to pen. So that's where the coloring book came from. That's where the planner came from. That's where the 90-day journal came from. None of that is on Amazon, and that's by design. You have to come to me to get that. There were people who were actually betting that I would break. I did not. I reintroduced myself to the planet as an author in March of 2022. And I hit the ground running. So when the 200 goal came, that was actually in 2023, late 2023. And I said, I'm going to get to 200 by December 31st, 2024. And I said, who wants to come along for the ride with me? I created a Facebook group, had about 14 people in there from all over the world. They got dibs on everything. It was a beautiful thing. I met my goal December 15th of 2024. And when I tell people what that 4 years was like, because there was a lot of other stuff in there. I was in a head-on collision car accident where I ended up wheelchair bound for 2 months. Got out of the wheelchair. They told me that I had to have my gallbladder removed. And just all
time out. Okay, which lends us to question number 3. Yeah, because you didn't roll through 2 and right into 3, which is the how has faith shaped the way you handle your business daily life? I forgot I had them up here.
I tell people this all the time. There's 3 reasons why I'm able to do what I do. God's grace, naps, and cookies. My faith is my life and my business. If you were to look at my Amazon page, it says that my professional mantra is I write my way through life and business, and writing is my cross. Because it is. Because I know that if MS had done what it was meant to do, if I couldn't move,
oh my God.
If I still couldn't walk, I still didn't have my hands, I could still write. My oldest daughter sat beside me during one of my muscle spasm attacks, and she grabbed my laptop and she said, "Mom, teach me." I taught her how to publish in my stead. And then she published one herself of her own. 2 of my 3 daughters are authors now. But it's because I did not allow skin or situations to stop me from doing what God told me to do. People get mad at me all the time. And I say, you know what? If seeing me do what I do makes you get off your butt and do what God told you to do, then praise the Lord, baby. My job is done. I said, I know that I'm doing what He told me to do. I may not make a lot. I'm not on anybody's bestseller list. But I can pillow my head at night with a smile still. Because I think about the woman who called me on the phone after finding my number, after listening to my radio show, and told me that my life and business reset book was the reason that she left an abusive relationship. I think about the mother who told me that the book that people told me that I should be ashamed of most was the reason why she was able to sit her 16-year-old daughter down and get her off the wrong road. I think about the woman who took my Proverbs 31 business book and stopped working with me as a business coach because she said, I got to work through this one chapter about where you talk about not using my business to mistreat my husband. Hold on, sis. I got some things I need to go ask him for some forgiveness for. I'll call you when I'm ready to resume my sessions. I think about the mothers who have asked me to drop off my life and business boot camp kits to their hospital rooms because they wanted to build something of their own that they can run during maternity leave because they weren't getting paid. I think about the woman who stood in front of me and said, my folks don't support me either as an author. Can we keep in touch? So it doesn't matter. When I opened my bookstore, I opened my bookstore in April of 2019. My first location, second location where I am now. I got over there September 30th, same year. God kept that place open. Hear me. During the pandemic, I did not qualify for any city, state, or federal funding for businesses outside of the $120 a month, a week for self-employed unemployment assistance. September 30th of this year, my bookstore will be open for 7 years. I survived the pandemic without any of the money that people are still going to jail over. So don't tell me about skin. Don't tell me about situations. Don't tell me about circumstances. I think about the lady in Baltimore who referred me to somebody in prison who was writing to survive being in a medium security prison. He came out of jail with 5 books rolling. Don't tell me what you can't do. I have helped people who have gone blind. I have helped a woman who was actively being treated for brain cancer. We got her book out before she left here. So when I see people who don't want to do things God's way, I'm like, how do you think I got where I am? I did what he told me to do, and when I did, he loosed me from caring about people. That's why I can relate everything back to what? Cookies. I'll tell you why. This wasn't even a part of the sermon. It's free. Cookies. Conquer your fear. Open yourself up to learning new and different things. Organize yourself, your thoughts, and your plans. Kill the naysayer noise, negative self-talk. Imagine your next and eliminate the excuses. Cookies.
Okay, that's number 6. You done skipped 2 questions. God darn it. That's this one. That's number 6. Good God Almighty. All right, now I gotta go back. Let me see. Jesus. First off, let me say this. Let me pause you right here, and this is a short pause. This is a short intermission. You have broken all of my face. Like, there's parts of my face. You see my face, but all of it is shattered on the inside. Because I promise you, and we have known each other. I don't even remember how we ended up meeting. I do not remember our meet story. I just know we've been friends for a minute. I know I ran my book by you. We've done some things, but I don't know how we met. Like, did we find each other on? I don't remember. I just know that there is Tammy. And I don't remember if there was somebody that introduced us.
There was, and her name is not coming. It was because of my book Becoming My. And both of y'all wanted to kill her mama. A few different ways. Oh gosh, I cannot remember the lady's name. It's gonna come to me though.
And so because of it, and then you talked about but I don't know if you have a specific scripture. So we gonna ask this question. Number 4. What is one scripture or principle you live by?
1 Timothy 4:12. Let no man despise your youth. That's been my life verse since 1993. Because when I tell people what I've done, the first thing that they say, you're lying. because you don't look old enough
to have done all of that. Yeah.
To have done all that. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I'll be 45 this year.
Still saying.
I will be 45 this year. And there are people old enough to be my parents and my grandparents who were like, you're not human. And you know what? I tell people, I'm like, you're absolutely right. I have clients who think that I have a charger port. They think I'm a robot. I let them have it.
And you know what the funny thing is? Because when I sat down and I looked at, it's funny you say that, because I just turned 53 on the 2nd of this month. And when I sat down a few years ago and I looked back over all of the things that I have done, mind you, I don't have the money to show for all the stuff that I've done.
Right.
These accomplishments, I mean, this wall over here, it's degrees
littered.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't have the money that goes with what these accolades are. But I look at my life and go, how did you do all of that? How did
race, naps, and
cookies? And yeah. that is, and when you think about it, it's like, okay, Lord. And for people to say, oh, you don't look old enough to have done that, or you don't, it's like, there but for the grace of God go I. If it had not been for the Lord,
look like what I've been through.
If it had not been for the Lord on my side, where would I be? Like it is so much
like them.
Because there's some of these younger babies that look a hot mess right now, and they look like they've been run over by a bunch of stuff. And so I say, okay, hey, so what's going on with MS now? That's my question. What's going on with MS currently? What are they telling you, or what? Because that sounds like this is an episode for Testimony Tuesday and Miracle Monday, because you just was dropping miracle after miracle on me. What's going on with it now?
I was cleared of the diagnosis on September 23rd of 2020 and released from all care. I have not relapsed in any way to have to go back under a doctor's care. I have not been back to the ER. I have not had another musculoskeletal heart attack. And the 27 other things that mimic MS, I also do not have. I do still have issues with my hands and my legs from time to time. And I just think that was aggravated from the car accident.
Right.
But I am here still. I am still writing. In July of last year, God gave me a passion project. And that has blossomed into something beautiful. I met someone who God told to start helping people create coloring books. And her name is Leslie. And she was telling me about this God idea, and I'm just smiling like a Cheshire cat. And Tanya, you know me, when I smile and I'm quiet, people get nervous very quickly. Because they're like, what are you thinking?
Because I know how crazy people work. I'm the same way. So I know how crazy people work. It's like somebody can come with an idea, and you have finished it all in your head, because God didn't already showed it all to you.
So here's what she says, Tammy, why are you smiling at me? Stop smiling at me. Why are you smiling at me? And I said, because I started creating coloring books during the pandemic. What did you use? Where are they? How did I not know? You got to come up alongside me and partner with me and start teaching these classes. You got to help me. God told me to reach out to you. I'm being obedient, but you got to help me. And since July 26th of 2025, between teaching the classes and the results of our students, we crossed about 25 grand in revenue from coloring books. We're actually getting ready to take that show on the road starting in May. Well, in May they're coming to me here in Memphis, but we are going to Atlanta in July. We're doing Greensboro, North Carolina, where Leslie lives, in August. In September, we're going to be in Fort Wayne, Indiana. In October, we're going to be in Columbia, South Carolina.
So in July, I need to know where and when, because I will be there with my microphone to cover this event. Because Remnant Road Warriors, Remnant Radio, y'all heard her, right? I need, yeah, because I need to be in the building for that one. I need to be in the building for that. I am so proud of you, Tim. And I didn't know you were going through medically like that. I had no idea.
Yes.
I
have been kept for sure, because so many people they don't understand that you can keep going. And it doesn't have to take you out. It doesn't have to. Even when I made it to my 200, people were like, "Oh, okay, so that's it, right? You're done, right?" And I'm like, "No. Am I still breathing?"
Check my pulse, right? I won't be done until I die. And since I told Jesus I don't want to go in the box, he got to come get me. I either want 120 years or the rapture. These are the only two options I've given myself.
So I told people,
not trying to go nowhere.
I said, Jesus is going to have to take me out of here by eyelash and a toenail, because I'm going to be trying to hit the button on Amazon. Oh my
God. Because you're changing lives. You're changing lives. You're changing lives. And the thing is, one
of my other favorite quotes is, when I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I don't have a single bit of talent left and can say, I used everything you gave me.
I buried nothing.
That's why. Yeah. I told my girls, I told my oldest daughter, she thought that this was like the most morbid thing ever. I told my girls, I said, y'all can sell books at my funeral. I'm like, y'all sell books at my funeral. I don't want no flowers. Buy books. I'm like, you can have the service at my bookstore. It's big enough. I'm like, you can have the service right there. Wait service, repast, whichever you like. I said, because the money from the royalties goes into our joint bank account that pays the bills for the house. So let's go ahead. Go right ahead. But the thing about it is that if you're going to get into the skin part, focus on how many Black people have died before they put anything on paper. We are dying with our knowledge. Les Brown wasn't kidding when he said that the graveyard is the richest place on earth. He wasn't kidding when he said that. Pastors hate to see me coming. Because if you've been in the pulpit for more than 5 years, you ought to have them on paper somewhere. Almost nothing grieves me more than to hear that a pastor has died and I go and Google his name or put his name in the Amazon and it comes back empty. That grieves my soul. Because what do we have from you? There's no reason.
And the thing is, and I have, because God is calling me out. And I don't take it lightly. This radio station, the television station that is coming behind this, which I never thought about doing radio. This is all God. Because this is the second station I've started. When I say He has called me out from under my church into full-time ministry, because I have to do what He says. And I cannot allow myself to be that person. So the two books that are, the one that's published, the one that is still sitting there that I've got to publish, the one that I'm finishing, and the one that I have just a book cover for, because me being the graphics girl, my book covers usually come first. The one that I have the graphics for, those are part of who I am and what God has not, as you well know, what He gives to us to come through us to put on paper for somebody else to read and or look at. That's your legacy. That is the legacy of who God made you to put that down, to give out. And as chocolate melanated, however you want to say it, we have a mandate to tell our stories, and our stories should not be, oh, well, this is what these folks didn't let me do, or I couldn't do this because of this. No. Mm-hmm. We are here because God has commissioned us to do and say what He has commissioned us to do and say, and we have no excuses. This is not the 1800s. This is not even 1993. In 2026, there is nobody or nothing, not that orange man in the White House, not anybody. Nobody is holding us back from doing what we need to do. We do not live in Iran. Our country's not
Nope, we don't.
We live in a place where we can pretty much do what we need to do to get done what we need to get done. And I am at my big age. It marvels me to think when I run into somebody like you. And again, I've known you for a minute. But the fact that you went through all of that and still there's still fruit coming off your tree. There's still apples and oranges and berries and bananas. Your fruit salad is still full. I can eat off that bowl and still go back and get some more. That's a lot. That's a lot. And people have to remember, hey. You don't have any excuses.
You don't. And but you know what though? They feel like they do. And I'm going to debunk every excuse that they make. Ready? I'm broke. Amazon doesn't cost you a dime. Next. I don't have time. What are you doing when you're under the hairdryer, on the phone, waiting for the kids to get out of school, waiting for the kids to get out of practice, or sitting in the doctor's office, or doing your oil change? Next. I have a family. So do I. I have a job. I was doing my radio show, sitting on the teacher's bench, on the playground, outside, with 95 kindergartners. Next. Oh, well, yeah, I got this talent, this skill, or it's just a hobby, or something I do on the side. Has the pandemic taught you nothing? Next. I don't know how to do anything else but what I'm doing right now. Baby, God didn't create one-hit wonders. So if you got really serious about that something, guarantee you to change your life. Or my personal favorite. I'm good where I am. You lie and the truth is not in you. And I'll tell you how I know. You can't stand to be around anybody who's achieving their goals. You can't clap for anybody else. You can't celebrate for anybody else. And the thing about it is, and then I'm going to go to my seat. And Tanya's probably going to kick me off of this interview when I say this. But it's okay.
No.
I'm going to go make me a sandwich and get me some.
I didn't say worse stuff.
But can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret?
Tell me.
That I know why you like that. It's not them you're mad at. You're mad at the results of the steps that you refuse to take.
Yeah. Golly.
Questions?
My God.
I was a teacher from 8 years. I sold books from my classroom. We had to put a sign outside. We had to put a sign outside our door saying what books we were reading. Every day, I put the title of one of my own. Every time I had to change it, I put up one of my own. My classroom door would open. Oh, what's this one about? Can you order it for me? You got cash yet? Okay. All right. Thank you, love. All right. Coins.
No excuses.
My husband, my kids, they travel with me. They sail with me. They go to events with me. And now they write with me. My 13-year-old is an author. She's already being asked to make appearances at schools to talk to kids who look like her. because they want to see somebody at their age who looks like them and doing all the things. My health didn't stop me. I don't know if you noticed. So, before you let that naysayer noise and negative self-talk take you down too far, let me remind you of something. Let me tell you what your problem really is. Your problem is you've forgotten. Everybody throws around, I know who I am and I know whose I am, but do you really? Do you do you really? Because if you look at the cover of Girl Go Eat a Cookie, here's something else Tanya doesn't know. She's seen this book and I know she has. But those pictures on that front and back cover of the book and the workbook, those were taken in a cemetery. But you can't tell that by the joy on my face. My photographer took me to that cemetery because some of Memphis' best and brightest minds across all industries were buried in that cemetery. He wanted me to take that photo shoot surrounded by greatness. He walked me around that cemetery and told me who was buried there. And when we got back around to the tree where he wanted me to take my pictures, I said, let's go. So yeah, people look at my Girl Go Eat a Cookie brand. They look at all the, all me talking about cookies and me joking about cookies and my addiction to Build-A-Bear. You know what?
No.
But here's the thing. I tell people now, hi, my name is Tammy, and I help authors to have fun with their book brands without tainting the mission and the message of their books or their brands. At least 20 of my books have Build-A-Bear mascots. And I don't pay full price for any of them. So when I found out that Build-A-Bear brought back their collaboration with Sesame Street, you better believe I went and bought Cookie Monster.
Aww. Well, because cookies. Cookies.
Because if you're going to build a brand around cookies or a cookie acronym, it would be absolute sacrilege
to not use my boy.
Must have been talking about cookies for 647 years. His message is unchanged. Unchanged, untainted. Ain't nothing he said done changed.
I have a confession. And you beat me up real good. So, and I'm gonna get on my husband because he's my photographer. I have to get back into this magazine. I only did one issue. Now, mind you, I did everything else under the sun. But the Sophia Project magazine, I did one issue, and it is supposed to be an ongoing monthly magazine. And I let money stop me. And then I just kind of fell off. After listening to you, and now I am actually dealing with an illness. Still trying to figure out what the heck this is. Because they cleared me for cancer, emphysema, COPD, and all the other cough-related things. But I still have this.
Like me, they cleared me of lupus, Lyme disease, it's 27 different things.
And so I've been living with this cough since August of this year. And it has varying degrees of sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. If I take an inhaler, like if I hit an inhaler right now, it'll calm down for about a couple of hours.
And then poof.
And it'll wander back. But I've never let anything stop me from getting stuff done before. I finished college and got my degree in the midst of late husband at the time,
all the things,
child heart condition, losing my, like, everything you could think that could possibly be the pneumonia, because this was doing its thing back then. So this is a thing. And so now I'm listening to you and I'm like, yeah, heifer, the radio station is going and it's doing, and you actually have a business partner who will help you with that. You don't need to babysit the radio station. You need to get back into this magazine and finish this magazine. And it's just like listening to you going, you hear your sister and she talking. So it's I got beat up a little bit. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't gonna put you off the station, but I got beat up a little bit. I ain't even gonna hold you. Cause I was listening, I'm like, dang. Okay, the book. Yes, the magazine, Lord. Okay, I got you. Let me get my life together.
Yeah. Because I tell people all the time, the worst thing that anybody can say to me is, I'll do it when you do. Let's not go there.
I don't have them type of issues. I would never say that, because see, I already know you didn't.
Or you don't get it.
That's a lie from the pit of hell. I wouldn't say that either. You got me.
You don't understand.
And I don't like to hear that either. When people look at me and you just don't understand. Oh. Well, do you know what
you can do that because you're single and childless?
Who?
But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Did I answer all your questions, love? Because we done had 17 revivals. I done preached 16 messages. We done opened and closed the doors of the church about 15 times. And I know I danced around all your... yeah.
You have more than...
I think I answered question one. I think I answered question number 1, 2, 3, and 6. So what's 4 and 5?
You answered 4 and 5, the scripture. Number 5 is what is your salvation story? But there's no need for that question. I mean, unless you just want to tell your salvation story.
I'll tell. Oh, I have no problem telling it.
Okay. Ooh, they ain't ready.
I am a preacher's kid. Not a preacher's kid. But that is the one of the biggest positive memories I can carry from August of 1993. The first paper I had to write for English class was to tell my salvation story And the very first sentence was, being the daughter of a minister, I have to admit that I'm not saved, and I know I'm not. At my school, that was a reason to shut a class down. My principal was walking by. My teacher stepped to the door, showed it. He came in. We went out. At my school, you stopped right then and dealt with it. I went through the motions, told my parents all the things, but it wasn't until 3 years later that I realized that going through the motions was all that I had done. So November 17th of 1996 was when God jacked me up and said, I don't know you. You may think you know me, but I don't know you. I thought you were saved. So did I. But that day, sitting in chapel service, God said, baby, you got this twisted, real twisted. It was straight when I walked out of there. And I was one growing up in the church where, because of who my parents were and how they carried themselves, it was assumed. So when it came out that I had gotten that settled, people didn't know what to do with that. And I was actually made an honorary member of that church because I knew that I was not officially a part. But I was told to stop standing up as a visitor because I wasn't a visitor. Yeah, I was. Because that seat, if you will, wasn't mine. I was put there. So I was one of the ones. I grew up with the stories. I grew up with the vernacular. I was trying not to say rhetoric because it's not rhetoric. But I grew up knowing the stories. I knew the characters. I knew the verses. I knew I knew all the things. I knew everything but him. So after that, things changed. Oh, she's so smart became, oh, she's haughty and high-minded. Oh, she has so much confidence in herself. That girl is so prideful. Oh, look at my baby just faithfully serving the Lord. Are you actually enjoying your life and being a teenager? We didn't spin the block spent. Because my accolades became accusations.
Let me ask you a question. That response. Have you told that story?
Yes.
Because preacher's kids, and it brings to mind an interview that I need to do. I need to get at this girl. And I've interviewed her before, but it brings to mind it because that being a preacher's kid is one of the hardest things in Christendom.
It is the hardest thing in Christendom. It's not one of them.
The expectations are so high.
It's not one of them. That ministerial fishbowl ain't no joke.
That is a place where the young lady that I interviewed when I was still in college, she called it a beautiful mask.
That's definitely what it is. It's beautiful, but it's one of the most suffocating things you'll ever wear in your life.
And they talk about how preachers' kids are the worst kids. And that is the stereotype for a preacher's kid. They're the worst kids because they have to put on this persona in front of everybody, but behind closed doors, they're trying to be normal and going out of your way to be normal.
Out of it. Yeah, because I tell people all the time, the teenagers in my church talk to me, but I didn't have friends growing up in church. I didn't. It had nothing to do with me, but everything to do with who my parents were.
And it's like they wanted to talk to you because your parents were the pastors. It's like, so you don't know if people want to deal with you for who you are, or they're dealing with you because of your parents.
Yeah. People didn't even know. Most people didn't even know or call me by my name until I was almost 14 years old.
What'd they call you?
They called me Little Terry because I look just like my mama. Or they called me Little Hall because I pretty much had my dad's Bible memory and ministerial experience at a very young age. I didn't start getting called Tammy until I was 13, 14 years old.
And so there's an identity crisis in the church among the children. And so that's a huge...
And there is.
That's a show in and of itself.
They're not ready for that. The people aren't ready for that conversation. Somebody did ask me to write a book on church hurt, and I told them not while my father is still alive.
Because he would get hurt behind it.
That's conversation. Y'all not ready. No. That's why when all the post people started coming out, that's why people said in social media, they said, we gonna let y'all have it. Don't start us to talk. I
end up with a lot of church hurt people.
Right.
I dealt with church hurt in a different way because I never left the church. Because it was like, in my mind, I'm not here for... because it wasn't the pastors that hurt me, it was everybody else. So it's like, I'm not here for y'all. I'm here for God, and I'm here because I believe in this man and woman of God. So the church hurt that I dealt with, I just stood it. I dealt with so much church hurt, oh my God. And I just stood my ground because I knew what God had. I knew I needed what they had to give me until I didn't need it anymore. And so church hurt was never a thing where I was like, I'm just going to collapse. And my pastor said to me one time, you get church hurt, you will go get another boyfriend, but you won't go find another ministry.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, a lot of people said, y'all don't want us to start talking from the other side. During my church holds a preachers conference every year, and one of my favorite activities is when the pastors' wives have their breakout session, because any lady over the age of 18 is allowed to be in the room. Those women, as soon as that door closes and the session opening prayer is said, oh,
I said I wanted to start doing retreats for ministers. Like just ministers and their families. Not the congregation, not the I want to get the pastor, his wife, and their kids to
yeah.
do a
And
retreat
see, that's
just for them, because sheep bite, and because you don't, as a shepherd, you out there amongst the sheep and sheep bite. And so there's so much that needs to come out, that first ladies and co-pastor wives, because people think that's two different. It's not. You just a first lady with more responsibility. But co-pastor wives and first ladies have this expectation of what they have to be and who they have to be, and then the kids forget about it. There's so much that goes on in ministry that people don't understand.
People have no clue. People, right? Seriously, people seriously have no clue. There's so much. There is so much.
Tammy girl, I'm gonna have to have you back, because this, first off, I feel like I'm gonna drop this episode on YouTube and it's gonna go viral. It's gonna go viral, Jesus. It's going viral. Because I say so. It's going viral. How can my audience reach you if they need to reach you? And in my good editing, when I go back and look at this again, I will put the information at the bottom. But how can my audience reach you? How can they buy books? Where can they go?
Yes, so 80% of my collection is available on Amazon. I tell people all the time, just make sure that you spell my first name and my last name right. It is I-E, not Y. And it's Polk, L-K, not Pope, P-E. So you can find me on Amazon. You can reach me on my website, professionallysassy.me. If you want to know more about the coloring book side, that's professionallyssassy.me/color-for-cash. That has all of our tour dates, all of our class dates. We have classes. We are literally having classes year round. They are free to attend. We teach you step by step how to build a life in business just around all of the things. And you can reach me on Facebook. I have 3 Facebook profiles. I tell people pick one and just tell me where I met you. And then that is pretty much it.
Girl, this has been amazing. And I am just, because like I said, when I meet somebody that God brings into my life, I generally tend to keep them. I don't have a space where I know there's reasons, seasons, and lifetimes. And I knew from day one I met you, when we started conversating, that you were going to be around. And I knew that. In so saying that, it wasn't like, oh, we got to talk every day. No. It's just tap, tap. Hey, girl. Hey. And we pick up where we left off, like we never left off. And so I am just, girl, this story, I am you blew my hair back. Like if this was a wig, it'd have been already off, laid to the side. Because you have said something, you have said some amazing stuff to where I was just like, girl, I didn't even know none of that was going on. And that is a testament to who you are. and who God is in your life, that if somebody wasn't on the inside of this, they would have never known.
Oh.
They would have never known. All right, Remnant Road Warriors. I now you heard my sis got a Proverbs 31 book on how to run a business. So first off, all of y'all that are selectively proverbing, y'all need to be getting this book. Number one. Number two, I need you to read the proverb for the day. I know I'm not reading it to y'all no more. Y'all know what I told y'all. Study to show thyself approved. A workman need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. What does that mean? That means pick up your Bible. Every week we have this same conversation, and every week y'all get this same fuss out. Whatever today's date is, I need you to read your proverb for today. And number three, Tammy, you got something to say? I know you got something in there. Go on and say it.
Sharika Dash.
Okay. I was thinking it was her, but I wasn't sure. And I didn't want to throw Sharika out there under the meat bus without Yeah. So I'm gonna have to call Sharika when I get off the phone.
Sharika Dash.
All right.
I went through our mutual friends. I'm like, it's in here. I'm like, I know it's in here. I told you I was gonna find that. So
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember, and I knew I thought it was her, but I didn't want to say it was her and then be wrong.
Yes, it was her. It was. Yes, but it has been a pleasure, and you just let me know when.
Girl, I will send you the links to this when it is edited. It will be dropping next Tuesday. And so it will be on the radio station. Cause my show is New Oil Morning Show. And so from 6 a.m. to 8:45, because we are an all genre Christian radio station, so we play all genres of Christian music, and we have several podcasts that come on. And I am proud to say that Testimony Tuesday is one of my most popular shows because I am telling stories that don't get told. Right now, I'm working on the life story of a man by the name of Dylan Hickey. And the reason why I bring him up is because we are on hour 4 of his life story, and we are just recording it. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it when I'm done, because he was a captive into, if you remember the story of the Hare Krishnas, his parents were a part of that cult and he grew up in it. Right. And so I don't even know that it fits in the box of Testimony Tuesday. It is just going to be a series that I'm going to throw out there because we are in hour 4. He needs to write a book, but he's paralyzed from the chest down. And so he only has use of one of his hands. And when I say he could probably write a book just based on what you told me about writing a book with your voice. Because again, I talked to him, and in his mind, he's like, I have to get this testimony out because with the way my body feels, I don't know what's going on from day to day. And so I'm going to send this to him because I want him to hear you talk about how you wrote your book without your hands. Because he needs that. Because his story is a book. And it is a book that will set other people free because that trap of Hinduism and him coming to know Jesus is amazing. And I'm talking, so it's like you have inspired me to want to inspire others. And it's not to say that I don't do that anyway, but just realizing what you've gone through is just amazing to me. Like I didn't even know. I would have never known. And that's man. Whew. All right, y'all. Y'all know how we do this. Love, peace, hair grease. I'm out.